Got a matchup within the matchup. A couple of coaches who are coaching really for their jobs next year. Wade Phillips certainly in a different situation than the guy across the field, but after that terrific start, Phillips has won 7 and lost 7, including the playoff loss against the Giants his last 14 games, and Mike Singletary is the interim head coach, trying to prove he should stay and be the man in San Francisco. Here's Rossum, best kick return guy in the NFC, and he is forced out of bounds at the 28. And here comes Shaun Hill in this offense, directed by Mike Martz. Much better than a year ago statistically. But the main difference is while it's settled down Troy in the offensive line, the guy pulling the trigger, Shaun Hill's been very good in a couple of starts.
Well, he sure has. And coming off of last week's game, you know, his best game certainly as a pro. Normally that would mean something, but with Shaun Hill, he just hasn't played a lot of football.
5 years he didn't throw a pass in the NFL. Finally getting his shot. Play action to Gore. Hill throws and completes out near the 48. Pass is caught by Isaac Bruce for 21 yards, and a good start from Shaun Hill in this San Francisco offense.
And whether he's played in 5 games or 30 games, I mean, you watch this throw. This is as good as it gets here. He gets back, sets up, he has pressure, and lays the ball perfectly over the outstretched hand of linebacker Brady James, and then in front of cornerback Terrence Newman.
For Isaac Bruce, his 11th catch of over 20 yards this season, he can still do it. They marked him at the 49. Another throw from Hill. Instead, he drops it off for Robinson, who falls down. A loss of 2. Brady James is there to tap him down, and Brady James is the leader of this defense. And we always talk, Troy, about the secondary, and we will, and the linebackers, but the difference on this defense right now is that guy in the front, in the middle, Jay Ratliff.
Yeah, Jay Ratliff, a 7th-round pick, and a guy who has really emerged for this defensive unit. Does not have the size that most nose tackles have in a 3-4 scheme, but he doesn't have to come off the field in passing downs either. 2
sacks last week in Washington. Terrence Newman, bad groin and all, is playing. Here is Gore, and there is a loss of 1. And really, Troy, offensively, while we saw that first completion to Isaac Bruce, when you play the 49ers, it's how is Mike Martz going to get Frank Gore the football, and how is the defense going to try and stop him?
Yeah, they've done a pretty good job, really, for the most part this year of getting Frank Gore the ball. Of course, he carries the ball. Rarely does he come off the field, but he's also a much better receiver. He leads the team in receiving this year, as he has in each of the last 2 years.
The crowd is into it on 3rd and 13. Hill throws and caught for a first down, and it's Isaac Bruce who hauled it in, lost his helmet, an 18-yard catch, and another good throw from Hill.
Well, a pretty simple combination route there by the San Francisco 49ers. They run Brian Johnson on a go route. You're going to see him on the outside try to clear out that outside zone, and then they got Isaac Bruce who's working in behind it.
Pretty good whiplash coming down against this field turf as Bruce lost his helmet. First down. No penalty flag on the play as Frank Gore carries it right up the middle, picks up 5. And how about San Francisco, Troy, converting on a 3rd and 13, and Isaac Bruce still doing it. I mean, here's a guy who's going to end up in the Hall of Fame with the stats he's put together in his career.
It's pretty remarkable, really. I mean, when you consider a guy that's as old as he is, and yet he's still being as productive as really what he has at any point in his career. And I know in visiting with Mike Martz, he continually says, hey, I've not noticed any drop off in his ability from when he was coached there in St. Louis.
Suffered a cut as his head hit the turf on that 18-yard catch, and his helmet came off. Again, no flags. Again, it's Frank Gore, and again he falls down. A loss of 1. Bowen was there to stop him, and quite a bit of blood coming out of that cut on the back of his head, and it happened when his head slammed down on the turf right here.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual. Well, there it is, and it's when the helmet was coming off, and then the back of that helmet is what caused the cut in the back of his head.
3rd down and 6. Hill is in trouble. Chased by Ratliff. Throws it away. DeMarcus Ware was there as well, and with that, Shaun Hill throwing it away at least kept San Francisco in field goal range.
Yeah, well, Shaun Hill does a great job of getting outside the pocket and avoiding the rush, but watch Dominique Ziegler, first-year player. He's not really even trying to get open as Shaun Hill got outside the pocket. Ziegler lost sight of his quarterback apparently because Shaun's just hoping that he gives him something to throw at, and then Ziegler went up the field.
53-yard try by Nedney. No good. And with that, Dallas will take over with great field position at their own 43. Dallas Cowboys had a pretty dominant second half at Washington last week. Really dominated the fourth quarter in that win over the Redskins. They are 6-4. Starting at their own 43, and a throw to Patrick Creighton, who tiptoes along the sideline and picks up 6. How about the splint, and how does that affect the throwing of Tony Romo?
Well, you take a look right here at the splint, and you can see how the tip of his pinky is exposed, and that's a good thing because the splint does not run all the way down the length of his pinky. He's able to at least get a feel for the football, and the pinky is a very important finger in throwing the ball because it controls the bottom half of the ball when you drop back to throw. But when he has errant passes, it's predominantly because he's not able then to get the exposed part of the finger on the ball.
Cost him Marion Barber, who picks up nothing over the right side. Takeo Spikes is there for San Francisco, and we look at this offense and you wonder now, with Felix Jones lost for the rest of the year, put on IR, he's going to have surgery, or did, on a torn ligament beneath his left big toe, what his absence will do to the workload of Marion Barber, and if he can hold up.
Well, we've seen since Felix Jones has been down that Marion Barber, he is the workhorse, and I think they would like to get him a little more rest than what we've seen in recent weeks. Tashard Choice, a rookie, will be trying to take some of the runs away from Marion Barber so that he can be afforded some rest.
3rd down and 4. A blitz from San Francisco, and the pass is caught by Jason Witten. So a conversion on 3rd and 4 and a 12-yard completion to Jason Witten for a Dallas first down.
Yeah, that was one of those throws like we saw last week that looked like it came out of Tony's hand. A little awkward. You see the throw there, and it comes out wobbling, and it's not where Jason Witten was expecting the ball to be thrown, as you can tell. And I know watching Tony Romo throw the ball on Friday at practice, I didn't see any of those. The 2 interceptions that he had last week in that game against the Redskins, I thought were a direct result of the ball slipping out of his hands. Didn't anticipate seeing any of that today.
Here is Marion Barber, and Barber picks up 4. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Minnesota at Jacksonville. This is Chester Taylor with a 3-yard score. It's 14-0 because Jacksonville has touched the ball twice, fumbled both times, including the first play from scrimmage of the game, which was returned all the way for a score by the Viking defense. Back to Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, Kurt. So Jacksonville continues to slide away, and the Vikings would love to get that road win, as you've got 3 teams at the top of the North in the NFC tied at 5-5. One of them, the Chicago Bears, up 7-zip at St. Louis, and Romo throws it away. Let's take a look at this defense for San Francisco. Comes in ranked 21st in the NFL, and you tell me, is it a 3-4? Is it a 4-3? What is it?
Well, a big part of what the 49ers do defensively is try to confuse the offense. And with that, Joe, they will sometimes come out and line up with 4 down. They'll sometimes come out in a 3-4 set. But to the defensive players, it's all the same. It's not a 2-gap traditional 3-4 scheme when they're in that 3-4 defense. They're playing 1 gap, and for the defense, it doesn't change their responsibilities.
3rd down and 6. Romo, a quick throw, and Terrell Owens wasn't ready for it. His head was not around. The throw was behind him, had some zip on it. And it's incomplete, 4th down.
Yeah, and that's an area for San Francisco that they have struggled. They had a couple of interceptions last week, but overall this year they've not done a good job of catching the ball, and that was a great opportunity for them there. Now, I'm a little surprised, as I said, with Tony in the throws that he has made here on this first possession. A couple of those getting away from him, just like that last one did.
Cowboys elect to pass on a 55-yard field goal try, and Paulescu hits it into the end zone. So it's only a net of 17 yards in field position as the 49ers get it for the second time. No score.
Okay, here we go.
Starting at their own 20 this time. The 49ers second possession, no score here in Dallas. And Frank Gore bounces off a couple of tacklers and a nice gain of 7 on first down. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, Niners receiver Isaac Bruce has been taken into the locker room. Bruce suffered a laceration to the back of his head. From what I was able to see, it did not look like a very deep cut. And as I speak, Isaac Bruce is returning to the field. Back to you.
And they need him. I mean, this is a 49ers receiving core that's extremely thin on the outside. Isaac Bruce, a playful moment down on the sideline as Frank Gore on 2nd and 3 picks up a first down as he gets 4. And you can see they've stitched that up. The Dallas Stars trainer must have come in to stitch him up, and he's ready to go back to work.
I couldn't tell if there was actually stitches that they use. Sometimes they call those clear pieces of tape that you could see steri strips, which is something that's used instead of actually having to go in there and use the traditional stitches that is oftentimes used. As Pam reported, it did not appear like it was a very deep cut.
No tears in his eyes, so probably the steri strips. As Hill is in a ton of trouble somehow in that mess of bodies finds Gore, and Frank Gore picks up 6 before he's brought down by Zach Thomas.
You know, a lot of discussion this week, Joe, about Sean Hill and whether or not he's a good practice player. Apparently when they put in the installation of the game plan on Wednesdays, and he has struggled. He struggles on Wednesdays. It sounds like he struggles on Thursdays and Fridays as well, and everyone's been a little surprised he's been able to play, you know, like he has. I asked him, some guys just aren't good practice players. Jake Delhomme's one of those guys in the league now, and he said, I don't even know if I'm a good practice player. I've been running scout team the whole time I've been in the NFL.
Bruce back on the field on 2nd and 4, and Jay Ratliff was a little anxious.
Encroachment. Defense number 90. 5-yard penalty. The enforcement results in a first down.
And he was joking when you talk about Sean Hill saying, I don't know if I'm a good practice player. I've been running scout team. But it does point out that here's a player who's in his 7th year. He's had just a little taste of the NFL and what it's like to be quarterback. And the taste that he's had, he's played very well.
He sure has. And you know, when he's been given his opportunities, going back to last year and then of course this year, did not play great in the Arizona game, but he had his team in a position to win that game.
On first down, Isaac Bruce back onto the field and back into the game, and his 3rd catch of this first quarter. And it depends on the spot as to whether it's a first down or not.
It was a good route by Isaac Bruce. The ball gets away from Sean Hill and leads him up the field. And Anthony Henry, with a little better coverage, would have been able to make a play on that ball. But a nice job by Isaac Bruce. You talked about how much this offense needs him on the field. Great example of it on that play.
It makes me think of what Mike Martz told us about these cornerbacks of the Dallas Cowboys. Hill, a quick throw. Here is Brian Johnson. He's down inside the 40. Mike Martz described the corners as soft, and I don't think he was talking about toughness as much as he was talking about the way they play. And when he was in Detroit, we saw matchups against the Dallas Cowboys where his team played well, and so far the coverage has been soft by the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and it was pretty clear that Mike Martz doesn't have a great deal of respect for some of these defensive backs that the Cowboys employ. And with Terrence Newman, who re-injured his groin in practice this week, I would expect them to maybe take a shot at him real soon.
On first down, Hill steps into it, gets hit, ball is up for grabs. grabs, and it's caught down inside the 5 by Isaac Bruce. What a first quarter, a 34-yard reception on a ball that was just floating up in the air.
Well, that was the shot on Terrence Newman that they wanted to take. And as you said, the ball gets away from Sean Hill because he's hit as soon as he's trying to step into the throw. And when a ball goes up like that, it usually benefits the receiver because he has an opportunity then to drive back on the ball, whereas the defensive player is just guarding against the receiver running past him.
First and goal. Hill rolls right back of the end zone, and it's out of the reach of Bryant Johnson. How about Isaac Bruce, who has put together a first quarter of 4 catches, 81 yards, and that's a big reason why Sean Hill has started 7 for 9.
Well, Sean Hill, when you get your opportunity, and they've got some younger players, you know, Josh Morgan, who's not active, he's a rookie and a guy who they think is going to be very special. But as a quarterback that is inexperienced, it's nice when you've got a 15-year veteran at the wideout position like they have with Bruce.
Handoff is to Gore. Nowhere to go. Dragged down by Ware, a loss of 1.
This is an area down here where the 49ers have really struggled, especially running the football. And you know, all we got to do is think back to that Arizona game when they tried running it in to win, and they were unable to do that. And they're not real good in moving people off the line of scrimmage. And they have had a couple of decent runs with Frank Gore, primarily because he's made a few people miss. But their success here in this first quarter has all come through the air.
Third down and goal. Timeout, San Francisco. A chance to talk about it, a chance for the first points of this game for the 49ers. Third and goal.
And I think down here, Joe, is where you've got to be able to utilize a guy like Vernon Davis and his size.
Johnson, contact, no flag. Anthony Henry was on his back, and no penalty flag is thrown. And Sean Hill can't believe it, and neither can I.
Yeah, and even having said that, it looked like if Sean Hill gets this ball down on the body of Johnson, it's a pretty easy completion, and you can tell, yeah, no doubt that Anthony Henry was all over Johnson before the ball arrived. Running the slant route, he's got his left arm draped over him and then his right arm over the top of his right shoulder, and really should have been a pretty easy call for the officials.
Boy, a missed call to say the least, and instead of first and goal at the 1, Henry gets away with one, and a 23-yard field goal by Nedney. Sean Hill cannot believe it. 3-0 49ers. There's the scoring drive, and it's been a good start for the 49ers and Sean Hill, and in particular Isaac Bruce.
Yeah, good start, but boy, that's tough when you drive the ball as well as they did on that last drive, and then you only have 3 points to show for it, especially considering they were first and goal from the 4 prior to having to settle for the field goal.
49ers already have 107 yards of offense. Here's Isaiah Stanback. And the former collegiate quarterback is out to the 23. That's it. Brown on the tackle. 22-yard return, and that's where Romo and company will go to work. This is the first half of a long day of football for you on Fox. Good second half of this doubleheader coming up. We'll talk about in a second as Tony Romo starts at his own 24. And a false start.
False start. Offense number 75. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
That's Colombo. And they'll start at their own 19. Second half of the doubleheader is that matchup out in the desert. And we have Eli Manning and the Giants, Troy, returning to the spot where they won Super Bowl 42. They're the other 2 games, but That's the marquee one, and maybe two of the hotter teams in the conference.
Well, no doubt, and I think it's a chance for Arizona to really validate what they've done up to this point. And I'll be honest with you, if they are able to win this ball game, I think that Kurt Warner goes on to win the league MVP.
Here is Romo rolling out and throwing, caught but out of bounds was Terrell Owens. Let's go back to that. Kurt Warner has won 2 MVPs. The guy is 37. He's completing passes at 70%. He's got a good receiving core. He legitimately could be the MVP.
Well, yes, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't be, even if they lose this ball game. I just know how the votes go. I mean, typically you're looking at a team that is going to be on a nice run and going to go deep into the playoffs, and they certainly can, regardless of what happens in this. But I think if he's able to win against a team that everyone knows is really good, as much as we all think of him already, I think that only gets elevated.
And you tend to get a few more votes as Marion Barber carries it back to the original line of scrimmage. You tend to get a few more votes when you beat a New York team.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt anything. And you know, that game, I'm looking forward to watching it. And when you consider the fact that the Giants is the best rushing team in the NFL going up against one of the most explosive passing games in the NFL, it's a will of philosophy. And you know, last week I thought was a tremendous win for New York in the way that they beat Baltimore and went through that great defensive unit of theirs.
You can see in the playoff picture from Philadelphia on up. Underneath the Giants, it is tight in the NFC. 3rd and 10. Romo's going to flip it deep for Terrell Owens, and nothing is there. This has been a much better first quarter for the San Francisco 49ers and the Cowboys, and Dallas offensively is still trying to get it in gear.
I'll tell you, it was a nice defensive series there for San Francisco here on 3rd and long, and they do a good job of covering up all the playmakers, and that's saying something, because as we all know, Dallas has a lot of them. But they're mixing coverages up. At times they're playing man-to-man, one-on-one. That time knowing that they had to go 10 yards for the first down. They played coverage and did a good job of it.
Here is Rossum, a chance for a return. Boy, he's good. Out to midfield. How about Dallas? 2 possessions, 25 yards of offense so far. For the 49ers, they are hoping that Shaun Hill can solidify a position that from 79 to 2003 was handled very well by the trio of Montana, Young, and Garcia. And you have to add Garcia in there because of how effective he was with San Francisco. Since that group, since 2004, 8 different starting quarterbacks, the win percentage .284 and a passer rating of 68 between Rattay, Dorsey, Alex Smith, Cody Pickett, Trent Dilfer, Shaun Hill, Chris Winkie, and JT O'Sullivan. Play action from Hill, looking for the tight end, Vernon Davis, out of bounds, setting up 1st and goal at the 4.
Well, that was the matchup that Mike Martz was hoping for. He felt coming into this game that they could take advantage of the coverage skills, or lack thereof, of this Dallas defense. Vernon Davis, who has not had a big impact on this offense, they get him one-on-one with Davis. He goes right by him, and a perfectly laid ball by Shaun Hill. I tell you, that's a good job for a big guy. A tight end, I understand, but to be running to the corner like that and to be able to locate the football over his head and bring that in, that's a ball that he has struggled with.
2nd straight possession with a 1st and goal from the 4. This one is for Johnson and incomplete. And again, they're working on Anthony Henry. Last time they had 1st and goal from the 4. They went incomplete pass, a run of -1 from Gore, and then the incompletion on what we thought should have been pass interference in the end zone. And Henry's being pretty physical here with Brian Johnson.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Joe, if the 49ers are unable to punch it in here, I really think that they're going to have a hard time keeping up with Dallas, because I think it's going to be such an emotional letdown. You can't get down here in this area and not come away with 7 points.
Handoff is to Gore. It's happening again. Frank Gore does nothing. Gets back to the line of scrimmage. And Jay Ratliff was the first guy there to meet him.
Well, that's really the problem right now for San Francisco offensively. You know, they can move the football, but they just don't have the horses up front to create any type of push, and we've seen it already in this ball game. We've seen it in other games, and that's difficult when you get down here around the 5-yard line, the 4-yard line, and you're trying to throw the ball and you can't run the ball. Typically from this area of the field, teams that score are the teams that can run the ball.
3rd and goal. Empty backfield. Hill in trouble and throws behind his intended receiver Johnson, and Hill ends up on his back.
Hey, Jay Ratliff coming off a huge game last week, really coming off a huge year. He's been a real dominant figure there in the middle. He goes right by Eric Heitman. He'll break down in protection. There's never a time when you turn the nose tackle loose in pass protection.
Well, you just said it. And again, and Mike Martz down at the end of his tenure with St. Louis, they were a terrible red zone team. Not able to run it down near the end zone, and they have paid a price. They did in the desert at Arizona. And now, as the first quarter expires, 154 yards of offense, but only 6 points for the 49ers, who came close on that to Vernon Davis. Frustrated 49er sideline. All 3 drives for San Francisco have ended up in Dallas territory. They have 6 points. They've had goal to goal from the 4. They've run 6 plays and lost a total of 1 yard. Here's Skandrick returning the kick, and he gets knocked sideways before he gets to the 25. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, just a medical update on the Cowboys' sensational rookie running back Felix Jones. Jones had surgery to repair a torn ligament in his left toe on Saturday. Jerry Jones said the surgery went very well, and as we speak, Felix Jones is on his way back. Jerry Jones said he would not have the need, though, to go out and sign another running back. He's very confident in Tashard's choice to be Marion Barber's primary backup.
All right, Pam, thank you. And because Marion Barber runs every run like it's his last in the NFL, with everything he gives week after week, run after run, that's why they drafted Felix Jones, to take some of the heat off Marion Barber, but it's all back on him again. Play action from Romo, who has all day and goes deep to Witten, and Witten out of bounds. That ball took forever to get there, and Jason Witten, waiting on it, couldn't get both feet in.
Yeah, he's having more problems throwing the football today, Joe, than what he had last week against Washington. This was a ball that just hung in the air. You see his right heel come down on the sideline. Good call there by the official. But we've seen a number of balls. In fact, I'm not sure I've seen a ball yet that's come out well for Tony Romo.
Romo's saying throw the challenge flag. That would be a ridiculous challenge.
That's somebody in the booth, isn't, for the Cowboys that is, isn't doing their job if Wade Phillips throws this flag.
Meanwhile, they're going to have to call a timeout because the play clock, and they throw the flag. This is very poor.
Well, then you wonder if there's even somebody up there communicating with them. Obviously there is.
Again, let's look at it as the catch. Left foot down, right foot on the line, heel on the line. I mean, that's about as clear a look as you're going to get. And Tony Romo's begging him to throw the flag. Romo can't see that, and yet Wade Phillips throws it. Ridiculous. We'll take another look at what the Cowboys are challenging. And again, in the course of a normal step, that's the rule. The toes come down, then the heel comes down on the line. The opposite, if he's tapping his toes going the other way, then that's a catch. This is not a catch. We'll get a call from Mike Carey.
After review, the receiver had control of the ball, his left foot down, then his right foot down in a natural step, hit out of bounds, incomplete pass. The ruling on the field is correct. Dallas is charged with their first team timeout.
Witten knew it. He was the last guy that was arguing to throw the flag, I believe, but Romo was looking into the face of Wade Phillips, and as you said, somebody up in the booth for the Dallas Cowboys has got to say, Wade, do not throw the flag.
Well, and that's my question, Joe, is what was the advice up in the booth? I mean, was he going purely off of Tony Romo saying challenge the call? I mean, because as you said, Tony can't see where Jason Witten's feet were on the sidelines when he was coming down. The official had a great look at it, but it was pretty obvious. I mean, in first look, we saw that Well, that's an incomplete pass and a good call by the official. So now you just wasted a challenge and you just wasted a timeout.
Yeah, and I think the challenge is probably bigger than the timeout. We'll wait and see. 14:47 left in the half. 6-0 49ers on top. We'll have a game break after this play. 2nd and 10, and a handoff is to Marion Barber, and he is hit hard by Manny Lawson. A gain of 2. Let's go to Kurt for a game break.
Jets and a big game against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee undefeated and trying to hold on to it, but Thomas Jones takes the pass from Brett Favre in from 10 yards out, and right now New York is up by 7 in the second quarter. Back to Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, Kurt, you look at the numbers for Brett Favre. 10 of 12, 107 yards, a touchdown. The perfection may end today, and Tennessee banged up in their secondary. A lot of the depth is not there for Jeff Fisher's crew. Cowboys have only 1 first down in this game. Romo trying to change that, and he hits T.O. in stride. Terrell Owens, touchdown. There is a flag thrown way back at the 45-yard line.
Illegal contact. Defense number 22 is declined. Score is good.
How about that, Troy? After a series of bad throws from Romo, this one had something on it.
Well, and Tony Romo does a good job of avoiding the pass rush. They were able to get a guy loose on him, but they are unable to get him to the ground, and he steps up. And because of good protection there inside, the double move, there's the contact that was called on Nate Clemens. And Romo is able to find Terrell Owens for the touchdown.
I bet our cameras can find Terrell Owens, and I bet he's smiling. Is he happy? Is he happy?
Doesn't look like it. Not
Smile,
yet.
T.O. Smile. Call Dion. We need a T.O. smile. 75 yards. And just like that, the Cowboys lead 7-6. Well, I think this game just flipped the other way. Longest play of the season for Dallas, and on that 75-yard touchdown, the Dallas Cowboys are now leading by a point, even though for the most part they've been thoroughly outplayed. That's Polk on the tackle of Allen Rawson, and now the Cowboys are flying around. Well, welcome inside our broadcast booth. Football's a funny game. You played a lot of years down there in that field, and like that, I mean, San Francisco now is on the short end of the scoreboard.
Well, I think T.O. was onto something. You know, good things do happen when the ball's in his hand.
Evidently.
So I would say that, you know, it's a great example of just how explosive this Cowboy team can be. The 49ers defensively had really shut them down. I mean, they were doing a great job, and then one play later on 3rd and long, all of a sudden the Cowboys now have a 7-6 lead, which goes back to the chances that the 49ers had down in the red zone, unable to come away with touchdowns. You know, realistically, this game should probably be 14-7 49ers.
Here is Gore. Gore picks up 2. Tank Johnson on the tackle, and there's one thing that people have never doubted, and that is the strength of Terrell Owens. I mean, he's just shredded physically, but
yeah,
with the football in his hands, what he does is maybe the most impressive part of his game.
Well, I always equate it to like trying to get out there in an open field and tackle a quarter horse. You know, I mean, that's about what he is. He's just a big physical guy. I mean, you can say a lot of things about Terrell, not all of it positive, but you can't question his work ethic and you can't question his strength.
Here's Hill going down in the arms of Spencer. And on one play, this Dallas Cowboys team is feeding. They have the life, a loss of 9 on the sack of Sean Hill.
Yeah, you can see Anthony Spencer and him coming back and healthy now, and what he can help this defense and in being able to rush the passer. He helps him in a lot of ways. One, he's a pretty good player, but then they're also able to rest a guy like Greg Ellis a little bit more than what they were able to earlier in the year. And you're right, Joe. I mean, this Dallas team was kind of sleepwalking there through that first quarter, and now the crowd's into it. The defense is responding to what the offense just did. And
And now a 3rd and 17, and Hill has nowhere to go except down, and another sack for DeMarcus Ware. Mike Martz's offense was just overwhelmed.
Yeah, that was more a coverage sack than anything else. It's going to go down as a sack for DeMarcus Ware, but he needs to thank these defensive backs for the job that they did, because he's trying to go to Brian Johnson here on the outside. But what you didn't see was there was a safety over the top. A quarterback with a little more experience probably would have gotten off of him much sooner than what Hill did.
And this one is blocked out of the back of the end zone for a safety. Carlos Polk. The much maligned special teams of the Dallas Cowboys, and Carlos Polk just took it upon himself his last 2 chances, covering on the kickoff and tackling Allen Rossum, and then getting into the face of Andy Lee and blocking it for a safety. It's 9-6 Dallas. Dallas about to get the ball back as Lee will kick it. Patrick Creighton is now the one waiting deep. It's another phase of the game that the Cowboys lost when Felix Jones was lost for the year. Good kick returner. Creighton from inside the 20 runs into his own man and goes down at the 31.
We take a look at the block, and you're going to see Michael Robinson. He's the personal protector, number 24, and he's in a good position there to be able to pick up Polk, who comes through that hole. You can see him right here. He's just got a clear shot. And obviously there was something in film study that the Cowboys looked at and studied and said, hey, maybe we can take advantage of this part of the line for this 49er punt team.
For the Cowboys, their first blocked punt since December of 2002. Also against San Francisco. Here is Marion Barber, and there is a penalty flag coming in on a 1st down carry.
Holding, offense, number 70, 10-yard penalty, still 1st down.
It's big Leonard Davis, the starting right guard.
Well, this offensive line, I know in visiting with offensive coordinator Jason Garrett, one of the things that he thought that they kind of got away from, especially during that period when Tony Romo was not playing, was they were not being as physical up front. And he even felt that maybe as coaches they weren't doing a good enough job of allowing those guys to be physical. When you've got someone like Leonard Davis and Andre Girard at center, you know, those are the kind of guys that can come off the ball and match people.
1st and 20 now. Romo throws, and it's dropped by Terrell Owens. 2nd down. And
yeah, and Nate Clemens, it's amazing how when you have a guy run by you, you get a little more respect. Playing him pretty soft out there.
2nd and 20. Romo's in trouble now. Throws in the direction of Marion Barber, who was shoved by Takeo Spikes, and now they throw a late flag. And the official who threw it now wants to talk to the other officials. Takeo Spikes gave Marion Barber a shove as the ball got there.
Yeah, Marion Barber was behind the line of scrimmage. And with Romo, then the question's going to be with him moving around in the pocket. You know, are you capable then as a defender to make that kind of contact? I believe that you can.
I'm certain that's what the conversation is about.
But I think that in watching that play, I mean, that was a great illustration of Tony Romo and how he's able to avoid the pass rush, and that's a big reason why he helps this offensive line. Doesn't have the sacks that Brad Johnson had while he was playing.
The line of scrimmage was the 21. Let's take a look and see where this happened. Did it happen beyond the line of scrimmage? And I think you could make the case it happens around the 22-yard line, beyond the line of scrimmage, and so now we'll get the call.
There's no foul for defensive pass interference. The action happened within the yard of the line of scrimmage. Third down.
I think that's a good call. Within a yard of the line of scrimmage, I would say that was right in that window.
That, and when you get a quarterback who's moving around within the pocket, you know, and avoiding a pass rush, there's a lot of rules that go out the window as far as pass holding or pass interference.
So now 3rd down and 20. And 92 of the pass yards. The 75 came on that completion to Terrell Owens for the touchdown. Then the safety followed. And now 3rd and 20. Romo steps up and drops it off to Marion Barber. Has to go a long way. Strickland knocks him down. Shy of the 30 at the 29-yard line, a gain of only 8. And Sam Paulescu will come on and punt for Dallas as they lead it by 3. Alan Rossum is waiting for the punt.
Yeah, I was going to say, Joe, another great defensive series there for San Francisco, and you know they've done a nice job. And I know when you come into a game like this and you look at Dallas offensively, you say, wow, how is San Francisco going to hold up? They've done that with the exception of one big play.
Paulescu hits a good one, and Rossum injured himself. This ball is down inside the 5 as Watkins kneels on it at the 1. But something happened to Rossum when he was going to get that punt.
Well, it happened early, too. When the ball was in the air, he went down immediately.
Meanwhile, the 49ers will be backed up at their own 1 as they check on Alan Rossum. It turns into a 70-yard punt for Paulescu as Rossum went down right there, and then Patrick Watkins downfield downed it at the 1. Rossum has been one of the best in the NFL this year, returning punts and kicks. And now the 49ers, who just suffered 1 safety, are at their own 1.
Yeah, and they're here at this position. I know Mike Martz, he's thinking about one thing and one thing only, and that's doing anything he can to pick up at least 1 first down.
Frank Gore gets it, and Gore just got it out across the goal line. Tank Johnson, who is in there with Jay Ratliff, a big defensive front for the Dallas Cowboys, trying to shut down this running game. No gain, 2nd and 10.
Well, this is, you know, the question really is how much confidence does Mike Martz have in Sean Hill? And I don't know the answer to that, but we'll find out because, you know, as I said a moment ago, this team struggles in short yardage situations. They know right now, the Cowboys do, that the 49ers want to try to run the ball for a first down, and I don't think they're going to be able to do that.
Here is Gore. Gore gets a little breathing room. Zach Thomas and Brady James in there. A gain of only 2. 3rd and 8 coming up. Shiloh Rishal is getting his first start at right guard, the rookie 2nd-round pick out of USC, and he will be tested here.
Yeah, and he's done a good job too, Joe. I mean, he gets a few opportunities over the last couple of weeks to come in and play, and he is getting his chance here today to be a starter, and he might have been, I said Heitman a little earlier, he might have been the one responsible, you know, for the sack on Hill a little earlier as well.
49ers last 8 plays, they've lost 9 yards. 3rd and 8. They stay conservative, and Gore goes nowhere. And there's Ratliff again. And now Andy Lee, who just had 1 blocked, is going to have even less room, backed up thanks to the play by Jay Ratliff.
Yeah, I think Jay Ratliff, I said earlier in the broadcast, he's a 7th-round pick. I think he's the reason why you don't trade all your draft picks for 1 player like the New Orleans Saints did a few years ago, because there are fines late in rounds and on 2nd-day drafts, and he's been a great find for the Cowboys.
Lee hits it. Had room to do so, and Patrick Creighton takes it down inside the 35. A 12-yard return after a 44-yard punt. Hudson on the tackle. Cowboys have a lead and great field position. Troy, other than the 75-yard touchdown pass to Terrell Owens, the Cowboys have 35 yards on 14 plays. They really haven't done anything on offense except one play.
That's right. I mean, they have not run the ball. Mike Singletary said coming in, we've got to be able to control the running game, and Marion Barber, they've done that. They've really done it all, with the exception of not getting the tackle on Romo and allowing him to throw the big ball.
On first down underneath, it's Marion Barber. Dives to the 30, picked up 5. Takeo spikes on the tackle. You had to be impressed. I think any football fan would have to be impressed with how Dallas ran out the clock last week at the Washington Redskins. On the road, they lined up, handed it to Marion Barber, who touched the ball on 11 straight plays, and the game was over.
Well, he's that type of back. I mean, he's an unbelievable player. He's physical. He's powerful. Doesn't have great speed, and that's what they did lose. You know, we're talking about Felix Jones. Felix Jones was a home run threat from anywhere on the field. Marion Barber's not that, but he brings a lot to the table.
They fake a toss, and this one is batted back in the face of Tony Romo. Manny Lawson got up and knocked it down. Tony Curtis was the intended receiver, and it's 3rd and 5.
Well, this is a good job by Manny Lawson, because they had a chance to get the ball to Curtis and probably pick up the first down, and now it comes to 3rd down again, and whether or not San Francisco is able to hold up, and whether Dallas elects to go for it on 4th down if they don't make it here, or settle for a field goal attempt. But if the 49ers can hold them to a field goal attempt, considering where the Cowboys got the ball, that'd be a pretty successful possession for them.
Another high snap from Gerard, and the pass is off the hands of Roy Williams. And now it's 4th and 5, and you're talking about roughly a 48-yard field goal try by Nick Folk.
You know, watching Tony Romo here in this first half and how well he's throwing the ball, that ball actually looked like came out pretty well for him. Wanted to lay it to the outside, away from coverage, away from Walt Harris, and a ball that Roy Williams probably would normally catch. He's got exceptional hands. He's still getting settled into the offense, but you know, he's another one of those playmakers that a defense has to concern themselves with.
Good snap, good hold, and Folk hits from 48. By the way, that was the 3rd time in 5 drives for Dallas that they did not pick up a first down. So they continue to struggle, and we look ahead.
The guy who gives us the best chance and didn't let politics come into that decision.
This is Delaney Walker, who was waiting deep for it, and there's a mistake by Folk as he knocks it out of bounds. Folk doesn't have a touchback all year, and now you can see the reaction on the sideline. Folk drives it out of bounds, and the 49ers will start at their own 40. I just want to finish on Warner. He is one of the legitimate, genuine good guys. So many guys are one way when the camera's on them and the spotlight's on, and then they're different. Kurt Warner is not. He's still loved in St. Louis, where he won the Super Bowl and 2 MVPs, and now this year, if he wins a 3rd MVP, as only Favre has done, I mean, I think you're talking about a legitimate Hall of Fame career for Kurt Warner.
Well, I don't get into any of those discussions as far as who and shouldn't be, but he certainly has the credentials.
How about a wildcat formation and a direct snap to Michael Robinson, who played quarterback in college, handing off to Frank Gore in a gain of 3.
Yeah, in fact, Michael Robinson there in college was a quarterback. He played a little running back and some wide receiver, but primarily a quarterback. And I know when Zach Kesey went on IR a few weeks back, they put Michael Robinson then at fullback, and he was doing a lot of blocking, and probably more blocking than what he cared to be doing. And I know Mike Martz the other day said that, you know, we just need to get the ball into his hands. He's a playmaker, and that's one way to do it. Go to the Wildcat.
2nd down and 7. Hill is in trouble, ducks it, and now slings it to Isaac Bruce, who's good for 5. Third short coming up. Kurt Menefee is as well with a game break.
Well, at one point the Lions were up 17-0 over Tampa Bay, but then again they are the Lions. Jeff Garcia finds a wide open Jeremy Stevens. 24 yards on the score, and the Bucs have come all the way back and taken the lead 21-17 late in the second quarter. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
How about that? You're up 17-0 at home. You're 0-10. And before the half is over, you're trailing 21-17.
Well, as Kurt said, they're the Lions.
3rd down and 2, and this one is incomplete for Gore with DeMarcus Ware in coverage.
Well, this kind of gives you an idea of what kind of athlete DeMarcus Ware is. He's one-on-one, man-to-man coverage on Frank Gore. And Frank Gore had a step on him. If Hill is able to lay that ball, and that's what Gore wanted to throw, then I think that they've got a touchdown. But when you put a defensive end or an outside linebacker on a running back like that, you're hoping that, one, pressure is going to be able to get to the quarterback, or that the quarterback, as was the case there, is not going to make a perfect throw.
Marcus Ware with 3 tackles and a sack, and now running downfield in pass coverage. Andy Lee hits it. Creighton lets it go over his head, and one hop off the hands of Marcus Hudson and into the end zone. Hudson was in position and was thinking good thoughts until it was just out of his reach.
Yeah, I think he got a little too cute there. If he had been able to jump in the air and bat that one back into play, but he thought that he could hold his feet in the field of play and catch it. Ball just was too far out of his reach.
So Dallas will have it at their own 20, up by 6 in what has been a rather unimpressive first half for this Cowboys offense. Now Tashard Choice is in a tailback. Cowboys have only 2 first downs in this game, and Choice gets it. Brought down by Justin Smith, the gain of 5.
And there's the rookie who comes in and will spell Marion Barber, at least for the foreseeable future, since there's no other running backs on the roster. And Tashard Choice is a lot like Marion Barber. He's not an overly fast guy. He doesn't give them the big play ability that Felix Jones did, but he has the passion and the love of the game just like Marion.
Well, now both guys are in. Choice is lined up in front of Marion Barber, and now in motion. 2nd and 5, and Romo throws. T.O. Another big one. A little shove on Nate Clemens. No call. And now a 45-yard catch to go along with his 75-yard touchdown catch.
Well, the 49ers go man-to-man coverage. They got a safety in the middle of the field. You're going to see Romo. He's going to try to get this safety to move to the left. He gives him the fake, comes back to the seam route there to Terrell Owens. And Nate Clemens never turns his head for the ball. He was in a pretty good position initially, but he's so worried about the speed there of Terrell Owens, as he should be, that he never gets turned around. But a ball that was laid to the outside and gave Terrell Owens a tremendous amount of field there to work in order to make that catch.
In his first 100-yard game in his last 14, and I saw a smile. Handoff is to Choice, and he and Romo were not on the same page. Brea Franklin is there to make the stop, but Tashard Choice, I believe, if I'm going to go with one guy or the other, I'm going to say Choice made the mistake with which direction he went on that run. 2nd and 10.
I would go with that, and I'll tell you, Terrell Owens right now, you know, they're putting Nate Clemens on him quite a bit, and I think Nate Clemens right now is a little nervous about the whole thing, because Terrell Owens now twice here in his first half has run by him.
Well, they're paying Nate Clemens like he shouldn't be nervous. He got a big deal to come to the 49ers from Buffalo. And 2 big ones from T.O. Here's Roy Williams. That one came out funny. And Roy Williams gave it all he had, but out of his reach. It's 3rd and 10. So now Wade Phillips' team is faced with another 3rd and long. And Terrell Owens, who used to star with San Francisco from '96 through 2003, his best years from 2000 to 2002 was with the Eagles in '04 and half of '05, and now is in his 3rd year in Dallas.
And Nate Clemens is matched up again in man coverage with Terrell Owens.
Romo for Barber. Going to make Marion do it himself, and he cannot get the first down as he picks up 7. Tackle is made by Roderick Green, and the field goal unit has to come on again.
I think you got to be pretty pleased with the job that San Francisco has done overall. I mean, they come into this game and you look across the line of scrimmage and you see Terrell Owens and Marion Barber and Roy Williams and Jason Witten and all the guys that they have to get the ball to, and yet we have seen Nate Clemens get beat a couple of times, and at times that's going to be expected. But overall, I think that they've had a good showing here in this first half.
Now a 41-yard try by Folk, who is 2 for 2. And the lead is 9. And we look at the playoff picture. The Giants are leading the way clearly, not just in the NFC East, but in the NFC with a 9-1 record. Then Carolina, chance for Arizona today at home against the Giants to do something about trying to get home field advantage at 7-3 and leading the West. That's basically over. And then you've got the 2 teams that are at the top of the wild card playoff picture, but at this point, not only do you have a bunch of teams at 6-4, one team at 7-3, but those teams are going to meet up. And for the Dallas Cowboys, Roy, 2 games in 5 days against the 49ers, then a struggling Seattle team, and I would say a chance to get to 8-4 with 4 very tough games coming up in December. You hope to split, maybe at worst, those 4 games, then you're up to 10 wins and you should be back in the playoffs.
I think that's how they're looking at it, and whether it's this game or the game on Thursday against Seattle, the Cowboys fully expect to come out of this 2-game stretch, as you said, at 8-4 and get themselves at least well positioned going into a pretty difficult schedule in December.
Here's Delaney Walker, backup tight end, who's now returning kicks with the injury to Allen Rossum, and Walker gets it to the 19. The other game we talked about is coming up on Thanksgiving right here on Fox, and the tradition continues here in Dallas. The Seattle Seahawks coming in to take on the Cowboys. Pregame show starts at 4 Eastern. So you'll be having turkey. We'll be here doing football for you, and that'll be another opportunity for this Dallas team. I would say this: the first half, San Francisco has still impressed me, even though they're down by 9 points.
Yeah, and Dallas has not been real impressive, and we talked about it coming in. What's Dallas going to show today in this ball game, coming off really a big win, a must-win last week against Washington?
Here's a ball coming loose, and Zach Thomas falls on top of it. The officials are all looking at each other, asking, was Thomas touched down? It appears he was, as he recovered the fumble.
The whistle was blown down by contact. Dallas ball, first down.
So Dallas has the football. Thomas was hoping that he was not touched while he was down, and that it was a touchdown. Let's take a look. 2 of his players are on top of him. Nobody touched him. Nobody from San Francisco touched him. Tank Johnson and Brady James did. But while he was down, nobody from San Francisco put a hand on him.
Well, that should be a reviewable play, because you're right. I mean, it's pretty obvious right there that no one does touch Zach Thomas, and it's a touchdown. And it's my understanding that you can review down by contact.
Well, the one fallback they have is that the whistle blew, and that was part of the explanation by Mike Carey. And even though you and I and other announcers have been told don't refer to the whistle, the play was blown dead, and therefore Dallas has to do it on offense, with Terrell Owens making a catch and picking up 8. But clearly a missed call, and Takeo Spikes and Terrell Owens get up yelling at one another on 2nd and 2.
I think the bigger issue, though, Joe, is really San Francisco and unable to take a snap from center. And some things you just start taking for granted, I guess, as a coach and as a quarterback or as an offense, and you don't think about, okay, we've got a quarterback who hasn't been playing a lot, but he's been playing enough to where some of the fundamentals should happen without having to put a whole lot of work into it.
Second down and 2. A little fake throw, and Marion Barber has a first down and sets up 1st and goal. You know, I would say this, that after that win last week, not only did Tony Romo come back in that win against the Redskins, so did the Dallas defense, and of late they've stepped up their play. 2-minute warning here in Dallas. Cowboys up 9. Zach Thomas with a fumble recovery on the quarterback center exchange moments ago. We're going to get official word from New York on that ruling when Mike Carey said that the whistle had blown, and I think that's going to be their fallback, that the play was over. The whistle had blown. Dallas had the ball, couldn't advance it. But we'll give that to you with 2 minutes left. 1st and goal. Handoff to Barber. Justin Smith was there, and he had help from Takeo Spikes, a gain of 1.
I'll tell you what, both of these defensive teams are doing a great job stopping the running game. I mean, Dallas comes in with a pretty explosive running game of their own in Marion Barber, and I know the 49ers, although they don't run the ball a whole lot, when they do, they're one of the better teams in the league rushing the football. But both of these defenses have done a nice job shutting that part of it down.
One of the most intimidating looking defensive coordinators I've ever seen. A good NFL linebacker. 2nd and goal.
Amazing what a good staff produce with.
Barber picks his way to the 1. Word is, by the way, from Mike Pereira in the NFL office, the play was not reviewable. Once the whistle happened, play was dead. The return by Zach Thomas didn't count. Obviously, the fumble recovery did, and in the end, it's just a missed call on the field by this officiating crew, and it's up to the Dallas Cowboys to make it a moot point if they can pound it in. It's 3rd and goal. And now timeout is taken by the 49ers. 45 seconds left, 3rd down and goal, and we'll tell you that the Visa halftime report is coming up. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy will have scores and highlights from around the league, and the Fox Sports ticker will keep you updated with up to the second stats. Last time I saw it, it was a 10-3 Jets lead at Tennessee, as there it is right there, as the Titans are trying to stay perfect in the win-loss column and go 11-0. He's been a nice addition. Justin Smith, former Cincinnati Bengal and Missouri Tiger. They've been very pleased with the way he's played.
Yeah, he brings a certain element of toughness to that defense, and I think they have really been fortunate to have a guy like him on their team. A pretty versatile player. Not a lot of finesse in his game either. I mean, he comes off the ball and he plays hard on every down, and when you have those types of players that can be great leaders for your ball club and really buy into what it is that Mike Singletary is trying to get through to this club and trying to do it in a relatively short period of time. It's nice when you've got guys like Justin Smith who understand and appreciate what Mike Singletary is doing.
And you can see he's reliable. 118th consecutive start. It's 3rd and goal from the 1. Play action. Romo fires for the touchdown to Bennett. He's smiling again.
Yeah, on a play like that, you're just trying to get a step on the defender. And Martellus Bennett, who's working across right there, you know, he gets out in front of Takeo Spikes, and just no chance there to be able to bring him down before he crosses the goal line.
So Bennett, who had the game winner last week at the Redskins, gets his 3rd of the season. And it hasn't at times been pretty for Tony Romo in this Dallas offense, but now you look at the scoreboard and it goes back to what we said early. 1st and goal from the 4, 2 times for the 49ers on offense. They came away with only 6 points, and that's showing up right now.
Yeah, and it's obvious that everybody at home knows that when you get down in the red zone, of course you want to come away with touchdowns as opposed to field goals. But when you're the outmanned team, in a game like this, then it becomes even more important. And that's why I said at the time when it was 3-0, if the 49ers did not come away with a touchdown on that possession and make it 10 points, that I thought they were going to have a hard time keeping up with Dallas, because you just know that Dallas is explosive enough, even when your defense has played pretty well, as San Francisco has. They're going to make enough plays and put enough points on the board that those then come back to haunt you, and that's what's happened here in this first half.
For Dallas today, they've had a 75-yard touchdown pass to T.O., a block punt for a safety, a 45-yard pass to Terrell Owens, 2 fumble recoveries, or the fumble recovery, 2 long field goals, 2 goal line stands defensively, and now the 1-yard touchdown pass on 3rd and goal to Bennett. Delaney Walker another chance. And Walker gets to the 15. That's it. Still going, but he was down about 20 seconds ago.
I know a lot of Texas fans around here were wanting to see Oklahoma beat Tech. I tell you what, as good as Oklahoma looked, you got to be careful what you hope for sometimes. They may just leapfrog the old Longhorns.
Yeah, they didn't just beat Texas Tech, they took them apart. 43 seconds left in the half. Underneath, it's Robinson. And Robinson gets 7. San Francisco has just 1 timeout left.
I think, I mean, right now, San Francisco, let's be honest. I mean, they're playing. They're going to do everything they can. There's no reason not to go into a 2-minute offense here, but they need to be careful as well.
Oh, what a hit from Brady James on Michael Robinson. And that may be a loud end to this first half.
Well, you got Sean Hill trying to get everybody lined up. Nobody's moving. I think they're saying, hey,
another one.
Let's just call it a half.
Yeah, that was fun. We're done. That's all. Get me out of here. Brady James, with that head start, delivered the exclamation point on the end of what turned into, Troy, a pretty good first half of this Dallas defense. First couple of possessions, not good. On the part of the 49ers, they took it down the field. The completions to Isaac Bruce. But then the Dallas defense, as they did last week in Washington, figured it out. We will go to the Visa halftime report. The Dallas Cowboys trying to get a win on the Sunday before Thanksgiving. 6-4 record, lead 22-6. Visa halftime coming up. And Mike Singletary has that look in his eyes. You always talk about the eyes of Mike Singletary when he played linebacker for the Bears. You got to stare back into those eyes as a quarterback.
Oh, unfortunately I did. In fact, his last game as a pro was right here at Texas Stadium back in '92, the 16th game of the season. And I tell you what a class act he has always been. He had an opportunity before the game to visit with his college coach Grant Taft there at Baylor. And I know when we visited with him on the phone the other day, Joe, I mean, just a wonderful guy.
This is Isaiah Stanback from the goal line. And Stanback gets a big hit, wrestled down at the 25. Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, even before the Niners left the field, Mike Singletary demanded that his players keep their heads up. I said, is that essentially the message you plan to deliver at halftime? He said, yeah, that and a few other things. Finally, I asked about a remedy for Terrell Owens, who's hurt them on a couple of deep balls. He said, it's simple. Finish. Get the sacks we're close to getting, and for heaven's sake, stay over top of him. Back to you.
All right, and I think the bigger point for San Francisco, Troy, is this is still a fragile team. This is a team that hoped to build on a home win last week against a very bad St. Louis club. They had 2 early opportunities, couldn't punch it in, and then the Cowboys took over. Trying to get a little bit of their edge back. Game still well within their reach as Terrell Owens has the pass behind him. Here are the halftime stats for you.
Yeah, the big thing looking at these stats is what happened there in the second quarter compared to the first quarter. And San Francisco came out, moved the football. We talked about their inability to punch it in for a touchdown. And then in the second half, things started working in the favor of Dallas. And you keep that defense on the field. Now, of course, one of those touchdowns right before the half came at the expense of the defense because of the fumbled snap. there by Sean Hill.
On 2nd and 10, Marion Barber's bottled up by Justin Smith. A gain of only 1, and Marion Barber has not been a factor at all to this point after dominating Washington.
I enjoyed visiting with Mike Singletary, as I said, and for a guy who is just in his sixth season as an NFL coach to now be given the opportunity to be a head coach, and when he decided to go into coaching, some people go into coaching hoping that they'll someday get an opportunity to be a head coach. Mike Singletary, you get the impression that he went into coaching knowing that he was going to have an opportunity to be a head coach in a relatively short period of time.
3rd down and 9. Romo has to step up, and now he's going to air it for Terrell Owens. And Owens hauls it in. Another big catch. And what a game he's having against the 49ers. 52 yards for Terrell Owens, who has been unleashed here against the 49ers.
Well, Mark Roman, the safety, he just can't run. I mean, he's in a back pedal as Terrell Owens goes running by him, and he can't turn and make up any ground. I mean, when you've got a guy like Terrell Owens who can run like he can, you better, just as Mike Singletary told our Pam Oliver, and for him to be in a back pedal casually and then think that he can turn and run with Terrell Owens when he's got a full head of steam, that's pretty naive.
Pass is caught by Roy Williams. What a grab, showing off his good hands, and Williams is inches inside the 10. For Terrell Owens, he has had 4 huge catches in this game. Trying to put together another big game. The only other time he has faced San Francisco was in September of '05 with Philadelphia. 5 catches, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's bettered that in the yardage category, and he's thinking about another score. 1st and goal. Hand off to Marion Barber, and he goes nowhere.
Well, Terrell Owens has not been on the receiving end of a lot of big plays here in recent weeks, and this is his first 100-yard game of the season. Goes back to last November. But after he came out this week and was critical of the offense, and without saying it, was basically critical of offensive coordinator Jason Garrett, this certainly, based on what he's done in this game, has given what he has said a little credence.
2nd down and goal. This pass too high for Marion Barber, who has his legs cut out from under him by Walt Harris. It's 3rd and goal. Terrell Owens is in the same offense that last year he lit up defenses for 81 catches, over 1,300 yards, led the NFC with 15 touchdown receptions. Of course, that gap in there when Tony Romo wasn't available, or now not really totally healthy, has had a lot to do with his lack of production.
Well, and he said he missed the West Coast offense this week. That's what they ran in San Francisco and Philadelphia. He didn't seem real happy in some of those offenses from time to time either.
They're going to call Flozell Adams.
False start. Offense.
And they may change this, because it certainly looked like the defense initiated that.
If they look at Flozell, they better change it. I mean, you'll see here now, and I would agree. I mean, you can't draw the offensive player off sides, and he came into the neutral zone, which is why Flozell Adams moved. Now, Flozell Adams.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 52 jumped into the neutral zone, causing an immediate reaction by 76. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
As Mike Carey, Troy, was explaining that, he was walking almost toward Mike Singletary like, this is going to be my explanation.
Well, that's right. Now, who do you want to face? You want to face Flozell Adams and the look he got from him, or do you want to have to go over there and then talk to Mike Singletary?
I think Mike Carey just split the difference and went halfway to the sideline and stopped.
He said, I'll stay right out here between the numbers.
3rd down and goal.
You got it.
He just gave it right back.
They got him that time.
False start. 76. 5 yards.
And he's not so mad now. Now he's laughing. He knows. Well, okay. I didn't do it the first time, but my bad this time.
You know, but this kind of stuff, for as good as Flozell Adams Troy was in 07, he struggled with a lot of this, and he's cost his team a lot of yardage, and he has had a tough time, according to Jason Garrett, from time to time with a lot of the power rushes that he has to face.
And it's one thing if you're on the road and this is happening, but when you're at home in your own stadium, it's inexcusable.
That's his 6th false start infraction this season. 3rd down and goal. And over the middle, Creighton, touchdown.
Well, Patrick Creighton, with the addition of Roy Williams, is now able to focus where really he is at his best, and that's in the inside slot position. You see him run a little double move here in the middle and then run that against the middle linebacker. And you catch him sitting there on his heels. Pretty easy touchdown there for Dallas.
How about Tony Romo's completed only 12 passes out of 24 throws, but for 240 yards. And on that touchdown throw to Patrick Creighton, took a little shot at the end of it. Romo's got another touchdown, and the Cowboys add to their lead, now up 23. Now 29-6. As the Cowboys take that opening kickoff of the second half down the field, get it in the end zone. Here is Delaney Walker with his best return of the game. On the heels of the touchdown throw to Patrick Creighton. Harrelson was behind him, couldn't stay with him, and then talks to Singletary. 29-6. San Francisco has it after that good return by Delaney Walker at their own 40, but now trailing by 23. Started out so promising for Shaun Hill and Isaac Bruce, and really after those 2 cracks at it with 1st and goal from the 4, Dallas has jumped up and overwhelmed San Francisco, a gain of 3 by Frank Gore.
And I think a big reason for that, Joe, is because San Francisco's just been unable to get Frank Gore going. And really, prior to this game, the only team that had really done it was the New York Giants, when he had 11 carries for 11 yards 4 games ago. But other than that, he's been real productive all year long. And when you're not running the ball, it puts a lot of pressure then on the quarterback. And I just don't think Shaun Hill is that type of guy, certainly not yet.
Hill fires, and just out of the reach of Vernon Davis. And a wide open middle of the field, and a little better throw, and Davis just would have scored his 3rd touchdown in 3 straight weeks.
Yeah, I was just about to say that other than the deep ball they got to Vernon Davis in the first quarter, they really had not been able to get the ball in his hands, and yet that was a great opportunity there. In fact, I think he scores. There was no safety, and he ran a good route as well, but Shaun Hill just not able to put the ball on him.
3rd and 7. Hill throws and caught by Brian Johnson. Johnson with a nice catch inside the 40 to the 39, an 18-yard completion.
And so much of this offense that Mike Martz runs is really built on getting the ball into the receiver's hands with them having the ability to run after the catch. And that's another play that, you know, I don't know if Pat Watkins there, the safety in the middle, makes the play, but if he doesn't, that's another huge play. That's what we've seen Dallas do. Romo has been able to do that, but we haven't seen the balls right where they need to be, and that's why accuracy is such a big part of playing quarterback for Mike Martz.
Quick throw to Isaac Bruce, and that's what you're talking about. Hitting Isaac Bruce in stride and then able to slide through the defense for 15.
Yeah, and I don't know that they did a whole lot of it there when Martz was with the Detroit Lions, but any football fan knows when you think back those great years with Isaac Bruce and Corey Holt in St. Louis. I mean, how many times do they take a slant like that and go 60 yards for a touchdown?
And a 3rd receiver, Tanaz Keem, in the early days, the great show on first down. Bruce has had a 100-yard day here in Dallas as Frank Gore is one of his better runs down to the 19-yard line.
I think, you know, speaking of the quarterback position, Joe, and we know this, that You look around the league, you know, where is Dallas if they don't find Tony Romo? And where would the 49ers be if Alex Smith, now I understand he's had some injuries and he's on IR right now, but where would the 49ers be if Alex Smith had turned out or does turn out to be the quarterback that they had envisioned when they drafted him? Those are big draft picks for these franchises, and they change really a franchise for many years to come when you don't hit on them.
2nd down and 4. Ziegler stretches out, makes the catch. Minimal gain on 2nd down of only 2 yards. Now a 3rd and 2 coming up.
And Dominique Ziegler there. Sean Hill was telling us the other day that I said, who do you throw the ball? Who are you most comfortable throwing the football to? Because he hasn't gotten a lot of work prior to being named the guy. In training camp he didn't, and he said Dominique Ziegler, and he said I've probably thrown more balls to Dominique Ziegler than any wide receiver in the NFL, and all that does is tell you that he just hasn't gotten a lot of work with his own offense.
3rd down and 2. Looking left all the way, now over the middle, pulls it back, and a nice try, but no catch for Isaac Bruce. Tried to tip it up into the air and then come down with a catch and just could not make the connection. And the field goal unit will come on for the 49ers.
And on this particular play, Frank Gore is actually the guy who should be getting the ball, and he just got off him early. But you can tell that Gore runs the angle route. He gets inside. You put the ball on him, and he picks up the 1st down. And that just comes from, you know, practice and getting the reps within this offense. And a more experienced guy within the system, I think, makes that throw, and they still are moving the football.
Well, Nedney hits from 36, his 3rd of the game, now 3 out of 4. Sean Hill got sandwiched. 29-9 Dallas. That bottom line on the graphic is probably the most important for the 49ers. 3 trips into the red zone, only 9 points. Can't get it into the end zone. Down by 20 as Stanback will run it back. Michael Robinson, first one downfield to get his hands on Stanback. Hudson on the stop, a return of 14 yards. Mike Martz and Frank Gore talking about that last incompletion. 29-9 Dallas with the ball. Corey Proctor has come in at left guard, replacing Kyle Kozar. The word is for precautionary reasons. And the precaution is 4 days from now, the Dallas Cowboys will line up and play Seattle on Thanksgiving. First down, handoff is to Choice, and the rookie running back with a nice run of 7.5, 8 yards. And so now we talk about what we've seen here today. We came on the air saying we're going to find out a lot about the Dallas Cowboys here today. What have we found out?
Well, it started out a little sluggish, but, you know, I mean, has it been perfect? No, it hasn't been. But I think overall you've got to be relatively impressed. I mean, anytime a team scores 29 points, you got to feel pretty good about that. I think probably more importantly, though, is how well the defense has played, because when you look at it, 3 of their last 4 games, they have held the opponent to only 1 touchdown. I mean, no touchdowns here, no touchdowns with Tampa Bay, and then they gave up 1 last week to Washington. You know, the Giants game was a whole different deal, but defensively, this group is starting to play like a lot of people thought that they should coming into the season.
I think that's the bigger point defensively with what they did against Tampa Bay after that St. Louis game, with what they did last week against Washington, what they've done here today. I think the Giants game is an anomaly in there. They were just flattened. But part of what happened was what was going on offensively with the combination of Brad Johnson and Brooks Bollinger, who couldn't get it done moving the ball at all against the Giants defense. Now the Cowboys have Romo back. The handoff is to Choice, and Troy, you've got Tony Romo out there with his bad pinky. You've got Marion Barber, at least for this series, starting it on the bench. And you know that Dallas would like to have an easy rest of this third quarter and fourth quarter and have this team get a chance to rest up a little bit with a date coming 4 days from now with the Seahawks.
If they're able to do something here and go down and come away with some points and they get this into the fourth quarter with that kind of lead, I would fully expect the Cowboys to start resting players, and that would be a real luxury for them, as you said, with having to come back and play 4 days later.
Play action, and Romo throws. That pass is incomplete, or are they going to say it was a incomplete?
I think it was a backwards
pass. Manny Lawson's got the football. The officials looked at each other. Then Mike Carey said incomplete, but it was awfully close to a backward pass.
I tell you, Joe, from what I saw in real time, it definitely looked like a backwards pass. Take a look at where he releases the ball, and that's what you've got to look at. You can't look at how Romo drifts after he throws the ball, but where was he when it was thrown?
Meanwhile, it went off the hands of Choice. It might have been intercepted anyway.
And it was. It doesn't even matter whether or not it was a backwards pass. It was taken away there by Lawson.
Manny Lawson, as it goes off the hands of Tashard Choice, just as we talk about resting Marion Barber and what have you, and getting a chance for these players to get a break. Barber's on the bench, and Tashard Choice.
On the field is an incomplete forward pass. It's being challenged by San Francisco that it was backwards.
It doesn't. The backward part of it's irrelevant if the pass is intercepted.
Well, now that they're reviewing it, the whole play will be reviewed, so they'll come back and it'll be ruled an interception by the 49ers.
We'll get the call when we come back. We're about to get the call from Mike Carey, who went under the hood. The play was ruled an incomplete pass. The 49ers challenged it, said it was a backward pass, and the replays show that it went off the hands of Tashard Choice and into the arms of Manny Lawson for what should be San Francisco's football.
Yeah, I just don't know why it takes Mike Carey so long to look at this and know what happened. I mean, we went to break, we're back, we're still trying to figure out whose ball it is, and I know that they then have to decide where the ball is going to be placed and all that other stuff, but you think it would happen a lot sooner than it does.
After review, the pass was backwards and intercepted by San Francisco. First down on the 17-yard line. Please put 6:01 on the game clock.
So Manny Lawson gets his first interception and gets a spike over on the sideline, which, by the way, is not a foul. You can spike it on the sideline
and not have your helmet on.
And not have your helmet on.
That's the great thing about what just happened, is he got to spike it and he got to keep his helmet off doing it.
Meanwhile, for Tony Romo, that's now 11 straight games with a giveaway, which is the longest active streak in the NFL. And Romo is completing passes at 50% in this game. Remember, San Francisco 0 for 3 in the red zone and getting the ball into the end zone in this game. Will that change? Not here. Intercepted, Anthony Henry. First interception of the year for Henry, and only the 5th this season for the Dallas defense.
Well, you saw where Brian Johnson was open there for a second, and if the ball's laid out towards the sideline, you know, he has a chance then to come down with the touchdown. One, the placement of that ball was behind him, and the other part of it was Sean Hill was just a little late on the throw.
So again, just 5 interceptions for this Dallas defense. Terrence Newman got a big one last week at Washington, and now Sean Hill throws the interception, his 3rd of this season. Marion Barber is back in the game with a fullback, Deion Anderson, in front of him. Gain of 3. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Off a Tennessee turnover, Brett Favre and the Jets taking advantage as Favre hooks up with Lavernius Cole. Second touchdown pass of the day for Favre, and New York trying to win its 5th straight while handing Tennessee its first loss of the year. They're up by 17 points in the 4th quarter. Back to Joe and Troy and Pam.
Pretty obvious the day that Brett Favre is having there. But, you know, in addition to that, he's had some tough games, but there's no denying the fact that he's instilled a great deal of confidence into that Jets team. And there's never a game where they think they can't come back and win.
There's certainly more to be said about that. 2nd and 7. And to the sideline, a lot of contact with Walt Harris and Patrick Creighton. Incomplete. 3rd and 7. And for Sean Hill, it has been a red zone meltdown. 1 for 7 for 2 yards and an interception.
Yeah, and that's where it shows, really, for, you know, you hate to keep coming back to the fact that he just is an inexperienced player, but that's the reality of it, and that really does show in the red zone. It shows in the numbers as we see that things happen a lot quicker down there. You know, you're not able to wait until guys come out of their routes. You're not able to hold the ball, and you got to drive it. You got to trust what you're seeing, and those things develop over time.
Just get it away. As Romo steps up and throws, and another one to T.O. out to the 40. What a day Terrell Owens is having. He's making up for the last 3 weeks. This one good for 17.
Yeah, this time he was working against Donald Strickland, and man coverage with help over the top, which is pretty good coverage, really. I mean, if you're going to play Terrell Owens, if you can lock up in man coverage and as a corner then know that you've got help, that you don't have to get worried about getting beat deep, that's pretty good. But Terrell Owens was able to get enough separation, and more importantly, Tony Romo delivered a pretty good throw.
You can see Owens clapping his hands as he's one-on-one against Clemens. The handoff is to Marion Barber. Clemens came up and made a nice tackle as Barber gets 9.5. Signaled first down, but he didn't get it. But just to go back, Troy, sorry to cut you off, as you look at this run by Marion Barber, probably his best of the day, and a pretty good tackle by Clemens, sticking his shoulder in there. That's a Jets team that's about to go to 8-3. And, you know, you think about Tennessee, they have been allowing an average of just over 13 points per game, which has allowed them to play conservatively and to win with Kerry Collins. They have to put up points today, and it's not happening. 2nd down and inches, and Romo throws for Barber. 1st down, Dallas.
I think the one thing about it, though, Joe, is that with a guy like Brett Favre, and when you're trying to defense a guy like him, you know, oftentimes scheme, you can take certain things away. But with Brett, and he's proven this obviously over a long period of time, you know, he goes unconventional with some of the throws that he makes. And so even when you're playing a really dominant defensive group as Tennessee is, you know, he can really put some pressure on a unit. And likewise, I mean, he can have the mistakes and the things that he has also had. But I'll tell you, early in the year, this did not look like a great marriage with Brett Favre going to the Jets and the way things started out. But it's starting to look real good right now.
Handoff is to Barber. Barber is wrestled down after a gain of 1. Let's go for a game break. Once again, here's Kurt.
Here are the Eagles and the Ravens, and this is Philadelphia back to punt. Jameel McClain blocks it for Baltimore. It's 12-7, but the story in this game, Joe, Troy, and Pam, is that Donovan McNabb has been benched to start the second half by Andy Reid.
Wow.
That's my reaction, too. Wow. I mean, he's been the one guy who has been in McNabb's corner all these years and has never wavered. That's very telling.
So the Kevin Cobb era starts in Philadelphia, at least for this week, with the Eagles. And here's Witten. And Witten can't hang on. A big hit is delivered by Nate Clements. And Witten, who's been playing with a fractured rib, can't get up.
Well, he may have another fractured rib after that shot, because it's a ball that Romo hung out there again and just couldn't drive because of that pinky. And you can tell Jason Witten's in a great deal of pain right now. You know, he comes back. Witten was in a hole and it was wide open. Oh, and the safety was staring it down. Actually, it was Donald Strickland who came in and made the play on it. and he drives right on this one. Actually, no, it was Nate Clemens, but a big hit there in the secondary on Jason Witten, and the shoulder right there is right in that rib cage area.
So you have to hope, if you're Dallas, that Witten got the wind knocked out of him. The other part of it is this guy is about as valuable a weapon as any that Tony Romo, who's an interested observer, has at his disposal.
Well, you can always tell the importance of the player by how many people come out and check on him when he's on the field and injured. And you're right. I mean, I've said it before. Dallas is a talented team, but I don't think they go anywhere without Jason Witten or Tony Romo.
The Romo part has proven to be true, and you see what Witten does, and you can say, okay, well, the last 3 games he's caught 3 balls, but it's the attention that he gets from a defense that theoretically would open it up for anybody else in the passing game.
Yeah, he presents so many problems, and he and Tony Romo are roommates on the road. They have a great rapport with each other, and you know, when you develop that with a receiver, it doesn't necessarily matter how many balls he's catching or has caught in any one particular game, but over time he's going to make a lot of plays for you.
It's 3rd down and 9. 2 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Blitz coming from the 49ers. Romo throws and finds Roy Williams, who hauls it in along the sideline for 16 yards and a 1st down.
Well, the 49ers a few times here today, they have tried to bring pressure on Tony Romo. They just haven't gotten home. And you got a clear shot there by Mark Roman, and he lets up just at the end there, which is a fraction of a second that keeps him from affecting that throw. And he lays it out, and then Roy Williams is there. But when Romo went down, he came up holding that hand and that finger, and that's what he used to brace his fall.
On the heels of Jason Witten having to be helped off the field, now Tony Romo is dragged down by Manny Lawson on back-to-back plays, so it goes back to the bigger picture, which is a game coming 4 days from now for a team that's battling to stay alive in the wild card race. And you look at Tony Romo and the way that he pops up, at least with a smile on his face, but these have been 2 plays back-to-back where he's ended up on the ground.
Yeah, and Marion Barber was the one responsible for making the block there, and he goes low. You know, it's one thing to go low on a quick throw, but on a throw like that where Romo was going to have to hold it, I'm a little surprised. Marion Barber generally is a much better pass protector than what we just saw.
2nd and 17, and now a screen for Barber. Blocking out in front of him, and Barber is down to the 24. Again, Nate Clemens on the stop, catch and run of 10 yards. And Witten just looks dazed over on the bench after getting that big hit from Nate Clemens and trying to get his breath back and I'm sure shake the cobwebs out.
Well, I tell you what, he's a tough guy. He broke his jaw as a rookie. He missed 1 game and came back, wires, pins, and all. And even with a broken rib, he's played through it. I mean, he missed the game, but it is not healed. But he may have re-injured that one.
False start, offense 75. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
That is Mark Colombo. Realize that Terrell Owens has 197 receiving yards here today. That's his 2nd best day ever in the NFL. His career high, by the way, 20 catches, 283 yards against the Bears while with the 49ers back in December of 2000.
And don't you know he's going to have a lot to say after this game.
Oh, yeah. He's probably said plenty during this game. He has taken it to his former team, the 49ers. We move to the 4th quarter here in Dallas. There's that hit on Witten. 20 points. Dallas lead.
just to update you a little bit about Jason Witten. At one point, I counted about 6 of the Cowboys medical staff around him. They weren't focusing on his rib, but instead they were focusing on his jaw. They also wanted to make sure Witten was cognizant and coherent in his surroundings. He just sort of shook off the cobwebs holding that jaw, but obviously they're comfortable with what they saw. Back to you.
All right, thank you. And as I said, he's back on the field. And by the way, they've taken the interception away from Tony Romo. You know, that's what Mike Carey said in the PA system as Folk hits another, this one from 47. They ruled that play that Lawson took the ball away as a backward pass, so a fumble. No pick for Romo. 3 more points for Dallas, who lead 32-9. Nick Folk has kicked one out of bounds on a kickoff in this game. Still looking for his first touchback of the season. It won't happen here. Delaney Walker from outside the 5. Makes a little move and a decent return by Walker out to the 27. A 20-yard return.
I think it's outstanding.
And
if anyone cares.
I do. Hill throws, and underneath it's knocked away from Hill. Jason Hill made the catch, and then, well, can't say made the catch. He had it in his gut, didn't secure it, and then it popped out. So 2nd and 10. How about what Terrell Owens has done against his former team? T.O., who was a 3rd-round pick in the '96 draft by San Francisco out of Tennessee Chattanooga, has played 7 quarters against the 49ers. 10 catches, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns between his 05 Eagles team and today. Just under 200 from Tony Romo this afternoon. 2nd and 10. A blitz from Hamlin. He knocks it away, and Hill gets back on top of it. A loss of 7. And the first sack for Ken Hamlin.
Yeah, Sean Hill just never sees Ken Hamlin coming. And I got to tell you, when a safety's lined up that close to the line of scrimmage, as a quarterback, you better know where he is. And you can tell he has no feel for the fact that a guy's barreling down on him. And, you know, he's lucky he didn't get hit real hard.
Well, we came in, Troy, excited to watch Sean Hill play in this game with what he'd done the last 2 weeks, last week in particular. And there have been some real bad moments in this game against Dallas. 3rd down and 17. Steps up, airs it out. Newman in coverage, and for Isaac Bruce incomplete. And Newman wants a flag, isn't getting it.
Well, that's why, Joe, I think you look at San Francisco and you ask, you know, where is this team going to go? And what's the future of Mike Singletary as the head coach? You know, will he be named the head coach moving forward? I don't think it would be a bad choice if, in fact, he is. And you know, I think that some people look at it when they needed a defensive coordinator, he was overlooked, and they hired Greg Minuski. But I don't think that that should be held against him or anybody should read into that, because I believe that being a head coach in this league is a lot more than X's and O's, and he inspires men. And you talk to anybody on this team, and they would agree.
Creighton on the return, a line drive punt by Andy Lee. And Creighton is tripped up by Ziegler at the 30. 54-yard punt, 5-yard return. Dallas has it back. How many of the stars will be out there on the field for the Cowboys, who lead 32-9? Dallas defense has had a good day. Good doesn't describe the day of Terrell Owens, and the Cowboys lead 32-9 as we continue to play in the 4th quarter. 13:40 left. There's certainly a lot more to be said about the 49ers and Mike Singletary and his opportunity here with San Francisco. Meanwhile, Tashard Choice is in the game. No Marion Barber, and Choice bounces forward for 2. You started to go into it. You and I both finished our conversation with Mike Singletary and thought the same thing. This is an impressive guy who's got, I think, a lot of the bases covered here as head coach. And as he said, I'm not auditioning for anybody. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to do what I do. And if it's good enough to continue on with the 49ers, so be it.
Yeah, and you know, you look at the 49er organization, they got to decide what exactly they're looking for. And I think that maybe more importantly than even the head coach is going to be what happens as the offensive coordinator.
Romo underneath. Hits his running back, Tashard Choice, who's got a first down for Dallas.
And I'm not saying that whoever the head coach is vitally important, but when you look at what happened during the 4 years, 3+ seasons under Mike Nolan on the offensive side of the ball, the first year they had Mike McCarthy, then he gets the Green Bay job. They hired Norv Turner. They made progress then, and then he got the San Diego job late. And they come in last year with Jim Hessler, and then he's gone after 1 year, and now they've got Mike Martz. And I think all of the changes that have been going on there on the offensive side of the ball have really held this team back. And even having said that, the defense really, when you think about it, to me, has been every bit as disappointing as the offense, because that was the one unit that this team was going to hang their hat on.
Here's Terrell Owens with another catch, and he is wrestled down by Nate Clemens, who makes a play for San Francisco, a gain of only 2.
But as we know, Joe, the one thing about it is, I think that in a lot of ways the undoing for Mike Nolan was the instability or the lack of finding a franchise quarterback. And it doesn't matter if it's Mike Singletary or whoever else they may consider for the head coaching position. If they don't get that position resolved, then it'll be the undoing of that next head coach as well.
Well, they thought they had it with Alex Smith, but in Alex Smith's defense, every year you have a different coordinator. You're really making it difficult for him to succeed in the NFL, as Tashard Choice picks up half a yard, and we go back to Kurt for another game break.
Jets in Tennessee trying to hand the Titans their first defeat of the year, and this will help. Leon Washington, 61-yard touchdown run. That put the Jets up 27-6, but Tennessee has just scored, so this thing ain't over yet as the Titans try to remain undefeated on the year, but they're down 14, under 10 minutes left. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that, Kurt. Thank you very much. A 10-0 start for Tennessee, and you've got a Steeler team, which, by the way, is laying down the road here for a Dallas club, that after they get that 9-day layoff after Thanksgiving, they have a date with the Steelers in Pittsburgh, December 7th. 3rd and 8. Screen for Barber. And Marion Barber may have found enough for a first down. It depends on the spot. Brought down by Nate Clemens, who's had trouble covering Terrell Owens. He's made a lot of tackles today, but he's had a tough time covering number 81. And it is 4th down by about 1.5 feet.
You know, Joe, I'll go back to that Tennessee deal, and you always kind of wonder, I think, that after you have lost a game, what then happens with that club? I mean, I equate it a lot to golf. I mean, if you've got a nice round going and then all of a sudden you finally have a bogey, sometimes it's hard to string together some more pars, and Tennessee, on the other hand, though, I think that even if they go on to lose this game against the Jets, when you look at who they've got, at least in the next couple of weeks with Detroit and Cleveland, those are games certainly that they're better. Teams are better than you would think they would get right back on track.
Dallas right now looks like they're going to go for it. The clock is running. And it looked like Tony Romo had called a timeout. We started our music, but that's unofficial. Just like our yellow line. The music at Fox is unofficial. Now. And now a timeout called by Dallas. They'll talk about it. They may want to go for it. He called it and said, no. Now they do. After a few more seconds tick away. After the timeout, the offense came off the field, and Sam Pelescu will try and down it inside the 20 with Nate Clemens waiting for the punt. And right into the end zone. Orlando Scandrick also got hit on that play by Clemens. Watch this.
You don't see tackles this hard. This is unbelievable. Watch 32. I laugh. That's because I'm up here. They call that a decleater.
Oh my gosh. Lifted up off the ground and onto his back. So a nice leisurely stroll for the rookie down the field, and he ends up on his back. And Nate Clemens, I think, took a little bit of the frustration he's had today trying to cover Terrell Owens out on Orlando Scandrick.
Yeah, that's usually the way that works.
Gore has been held to just 26 yards. He came in responsible for over 36% of the team's total net yards, the most in the NFL, and Dallas has done a good job in slowing him down. Pass is caught by Isaac Bruce, who's had a nice day. And a penalty flag comes down back in the area where Hill let it go.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 95, a blow to the head, 15 yards, automatic first down from the end of the run.
It's Tank Johnson.
As Tank Johnson will get a good look at the end, and he came in, and I don't think he meant anything by it, but when he came in with his hand up and it got to the headgear, it looked like he poked Hill there in the eye.
Meanwhile, that's a pretty good throw by Sean Hill to Isaac Bruce coming out of his break along the sideline. It was good for 7. Then the penalty, now a first down out at their own 42. Hill's in trouble and trying to get it to Gore. He avoids the sack. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
T.O.'s having a big day in your game. Down in Miami, Matt Castle and Randy Moss have hooked up for 3 touchdowns, including this one. And it's a big day as New England has a 10-point lead for Matt Castle, 415 yards passing. Of course, he had 400 in his last game as well. First quarterback with back-to-back 400-yard games since 2004.
How about that? Back-to-back 400-yard games for Matt Castle. And trying to get a win over the Dolphins playing down in Miami. And a penalty flag comes in again, and Skandrick comes away with his hands up.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 32, 15 yards, automatic, first down.
Well, you had said that Nate Clemens took it out on Skandrick there on the kickoff return, or on the punt return, and this time Skandrick coming after Hill, and that didn't look like too much. But I tell you, it really is remarkable how closely they are protecting the quarterbacks. And I understand. I mean, you want the marquee guys playing. You don't want them getting injured. But, well, I tell you, I really believe, we say it each week and we see it each week, that they have taken it a little too far.
You're just mad about the timing of them finally protecting quarterbacks. Sean Hill is not protected as Greg Ellis brings up his 4th sack of the year.
Now that was more roughing the quarterback than anything Skandrick did.
But totally legal, and that's the 4th Dallas sack of the day. And there's the pressure on Sean Hill in this game with 9 to play. Hill trying to find somewhere to go with it, finds Ziegler, and Dominique Ziegler makes the play. Spun out of bounds at the 18-yard line, and that was another good play from Sean Hill.
They've probably done that about 1,000 times on the practice field, running cards for their defense. You see, they got a good feel for Ziegler. He just stays alive, and that's something we didn't see earlier in the game from the receivers. But Ziegler keeps working across, gets into the vision there of Sean Hill, and Sean Hill just lays it out perfectly.
49ers have only 45 yards of offense since the first quarter. That one good for 30. As Hill flips it, and there is Bruce for the touchdown. Sean Hill kept it alive, and Isaac Bruce got behind the defense, hauled it in, and picks up his 5th touchdown as a 49er. As the San Francisco 49ers will try to make it 32-16.
Well, you can see where Mike Martz is a little unsettled watching Sean Hill play quarterback. You know, I mean, he's back there in the pocket. He's looking around, trying to find somebody that gets open. He pump fakes a few different times, and then Isaac Bruce just kind of ad-libs, and Sean Hill finds him.
Kind of an odd alignment by San Francisco at the start. Now they have a more typical alignment for the extra point. You have to do this. With that extra point, it's now a 2-score game. Down by 16 points are the 49ers. Good drive that time by Sean Hill. So Mike Singletary's team gets it down the field, gets the touchdown. It's a 2-score game. 16-point affair here in the fourth quarter, and Dallas doesn't know exactly how to play this. Kind of playing both in case the 49ers go for an onside kick or boom it deep. Patrick Creighton is waiting for it. And it is an onside kick, and it's hauled in by San Francisco, but a flag is down in the area where there would be an offside against the 49ers, and it was offside. So that won't count.
I'll tell you what, that was surprising to me, Joe. I just figured that they would kick it deep. Pretty amazing that they went for the onside kick.
Number 22, 5 yards. Re-kick at the 25-yard line.
Well, we've said Nate Clement's name as much as anybody's here today, and he came across the 30 right
there.
Yep, before the kick.
Yeah, I mean, probably a good time to run it. I mean, when Dallas is, you know, obviously they're thinking about it, but I think they were probably thinking along the same lines as myself. Well, there's still plenty of time. We'll kick it deep. You know, those are hard things to execute, and then when you finally do, to have a guy offsides on the backside of the play who had nothing to do with where the ball was going.
Now Nedney tries this side of the field, and it's hauled in by Marion Barber. So Marion Barber is there fielding the onside kick, and I guess for San Francisco it's in the category of why not. You're 3 and 7.
Yeah, I think it's that tells you what they think about the defense being able to stop Dallas. Otherwise, I think you kick it deep there.
But let's talk about Dallas. I mean, Dallas is, after that touchdown by San Francisco, they've not been able to get to that comfort zone where they think, okay, we've got this game. Now we can start to rest Barber and Witten and T.O. and Romo. They still have to play a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that that's a real tribute to this 49er team. I mean, a team that really is playing for pride. They're not going to be going to the playoffs, and yet Mike Singletary, it's a credit to him as well and that staff for having these guys continuing to play each and every snap.
Pass is to Roy Williams, and Roy Williams, working in his second game with Romo at quarterback, has 9 yards. We haven't seen this Dallas offense yet in full force. You've got a quarterback who's got a broken little finger. You got an offensive line that got Kyle Kozar back, a big addition back at left guard. He has sat out this second half, and the only word we got was for precautionary reasons. Corey Proctor is back in there, but now you've got Roy Williams, Terrell Owens, Marion Barber. They're going to be without Felix Jones, the exciting rookie, the rest of the year, but this is something that should continue to progress as long as Romo stays healthy. 2nd and 1, delayed handoff to Marion Barber, and Barber is brought down with enough for a first down by Ronald Fields.
And I think that looking at Dallas, I agree with everything you just said, Joe. And Dallas offensively, yes, they're big up front, and they have the ability to be physical, you know, when they run the ball. Now, they've not run the ball well today, and that surprises me a little bit. This is a defense up front for San Francisco that I think has done an outstanding job in this ball game. But really, more than being big up front and being physical, this team has been about big plays ever since Tony Romo became the starter, and they lost that. And this game today, you know, really exemplifies all of that, because they had not really done a whole lot if you take out the big plays in this ball game. That's how they've gotten all their points.
As we said, first down Dallas on that carry by Marion Barber. And so you look at the NFC overall, and in particular for Dallas, they've got Seattle on Thanksgiving, and then they've got the run of 4 games. It is the toughest remaining schedule for the month of December across the NFL. And that's what the Dallas Cowboys have to navigate. At Pittsburgh, at home against the Giants and Baltimore, then at Philadelphia to try to get back into the playoffs. A team that hasn't won a playoff game since '96. Play action from Romo, and the pass is maybe tipped. Banta Kane, who was back in coverage in the direction of Jason Witten. 2nd and 10.
And I think that play right there by Toli Banta Kane, you know, shows really what I was talking about a little bit earlier in terms of you know, here you are down 16 points, and yet you're playing as hard as what he is, and the whole team is like that. And that's why I think that Mike Singletary really has done a terrific job. And I'm not suggesting that they didn't play hard under Mike Nolan, because they did. But with each game that you lose, and as you get into later games in the season, it becomes easier for players not to play hard, and yet he's not allowed that to happen.
2nd and 10, Marion Barber. Nothing. First guy there was Patrick Willis, who was a good linebacker in his own right. And you always think of the word intensity with those eyes of Mike Singletary wide open, whether he was trying to figure out what Joe Montana was going to do on that play, or trying to figure out how his team is going to be better than the other club across the field. He is an intense individual, and somebody who's in the NFL Hall of Fame, played for the Bears from 81 to 92, an 8-time All-Pro, and a 2nd-round pick out of Baylor. He's a Texas guy.
And he was the leader of that Bears defense. I mean, you think of the personalities that they had on that team, and yet he was the unquestionable leader for that group.
Romo underneath to Marion Barber. Barber is down inside the 25 to the 24. And his old college coach, you mentioned this earlier, a little reunion on the field prior to the game. And as Mike Singletary said, I know I've got a lot of family in Texas. He's obviously got family and friends. He said, but I'm here to try and win a football game, and I'll try to see as much family as I can during the holiday.
I think the interest that Baylor showed in him before he ever even got into coaching may have been what ultimately led him into coaching. You know, there was talk when the job came open, when Grant Teaff stepped down, that they wanted to hire him as the head coach at that time.
42-yard try by Folk, who's had a nice day, 4 for 4. And all 4 field goals from beyond 40 yards. We will be here on Thanksgiving, as we mentioned, and it's always a special day for us as we get a chance to award the Galloping Gobbler. We would highlight, because Dre Bly was actually excited to win it. Came back, showed his teammates for Detroit in the locker room, but all the big stars have kind of dismissed it, as Delaney Walker has his 2nd good return to this game. Emmitt Smith said, what is this thing? Julius Jones, who we will see on Thanksgiving now with Seattle. Tony Romo, Brett Favre.
Yeah,
well, kind of blew it off.
In the spirit of full disclosure, when we decided to do this back in 2002, it was really done as a spoof, because everybody's got an award. Everybody gives something, and we thought it was crazy that they had all these different things that were handed out by various crews, and we said, hey, let's have some fun with it. That's why we had the goofy looking gobbler, and yet we got hammered on it, thinking that we were actually being serious because we made so much fun of it during the course of that game. Well, now it is a serious thing.
Now it is. Very. Game break coming up, as Sean Hill has had a nice little run here. Completion to Johnson. Let's go to Kurt for a game break.
Well, Donovan McNabb had 3 turnovers in the first half, so the Eagles put in Kevin Cobb. No. Ed Reed of the Ravens. This is the 2nd interception that Cobb has thrown, and Reed takes it all the way back, tying the NFL record with a 108-yard interception return. It's the Ravens in a blowout, 29-7, right now in the 4th quarter. Back to Joe, Troy, and Pan.
All right, Kurt, certainly a lot to talk about with regard to Philadelphia, as Hill steps up and throws. Pass is caught by Hill, and Hill has a first down inside the 20, a 22-yard completion to Jason Hill, who the last few weeks has stepped up and become more and more a part of the attack for San Francisco. I think Sean Hill, the last 2 possessions, has looked like the guy we saw the first 3 possessions for San Francisco in this game. Just a rough stretch in between. Here's a quick throw with Hill stepping up as he threw it to Bryant Johnson. Good for 9.
I think it's going to be hard for this staff to really be able to evaluate what Sean Hill is all about. You know, they're going to be doing that, of course, here over the last few games of the season. But for a guy who doesn't practice well, then you're only going off of what you see in games, and there's enough up and down that I don't know what they're going to conclude.
Here's another good one. This one is complete for a touchdown to Foster. Deshaun Foster. And just like that, with 3:46 left in this game, San Francisco is now down by 13 points. And Patrick Watkins, a backup safety, is injured on that play.
And now I think you go back and you look at the decision to kick the onside kick and you say, well, was that really the right thing to do? And I'm not so sure it was, down 16 points, but now it's still a 2-possession game even after this score.
Yeah, that took it from 16 points. Then the Cowboys got the 4th field goal from Nick Folk, made it 19 points. And Deshaun Foster fought his way into the end zone. It's a 13-point game, and San Francisco will go for 2 to try to make it an 11-point game, so you could get a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and then a field goal theoretically for a tie.
Yeah, and I think that if, regardless of what happens here, then you do kick the onside kick because you've got to score twice in order to have a chance. But when we discussed it at the time that it happened, I was surprised the first time, and then with the offsides penalty, then I was really surprised because now you've just alerted Dallas that you were thinking about doing that. And I thought they were going to kick off, but if they didn't have any confidence in their defense, but the defense did a good job in holding Dallas to just a field goal.
So the 2-point try, San Francisco 1 for 1 in this category this season. They went to Gore the first time. Hill buys some time. Good effort, and the throw incomplete. So that keeps it a 13-point game. Still a 2-score affair, as Sean Hill did everything he could getting away from Spencer, and after rolling out to his left, I can't say who exactly he was throwing to. Maybe Hill in back of the end zone. Anthony Henry closest to it. Coming up next is doubleheader game 2, and all of us are excited to sit down and watch the New York Giants play the Arizona Cardinals out in the desert. Cardinals have not won their division since 1975, and they're right there, their best start since '77, and they're knocking on the door because the rest of the NFC West has taken 2008 off.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to tell you when the last time is they won a playoff game.
Well, I can. Do you want me to go into it? Where were you when they won their last playoff game?
I had a great seat to watch that one. Right here in Dallas, '98. Jake Plummer. But you look at that matchup, Joe, between those two teams, and who would have thought coming into the season that game would be such a significant ball game? And I don't know. I don't think it's just me. It just has a great feel. I mean, there's been a lot of hype coming into this week about that game. It just feels like it's going to live up to what we thought it would be going in.
Another onside kick try, and this one ends up in the air. It ends up in the hands of Bennett, but Orlando Scandrick did a good job of getting up and coming down to the ground with it, and Dallas will take over. So good work by Scandrick. Showed off his vertical and hauls it in with 3:46 left, and Dallas up by 13 points. Yeah, I agree with you. And for Arizona, a team that really wasn't talked a lot about coming into the season, that's kind of the beauty of the NFL. I mean, like you said, who would have ever thought that would be a big game at the start of the season? But that's why they invented the flex schedule, because things change so quickly in this league. You think about Philadelphia. I mean, in the course of 2 weeks, their season may be over. Marion Barber carries it, picks up 5.
And I think that, at least if I were looking at it going into that game, I know they've run, the Giants that is, they've run the ball very, very well. Here over the last 5, 6 games, 7 games, all year really. But my point is that when you look at what Eli Manning has had to do, the thing that has surprised me is, as well as they've run the ball, they've not had any real big plays, and they should be. You run it, you take the play action stuff down the field, get some big balls down there to Plexico burst. They haven't had that happen. I think that's going to have to happen today if the Giants are going to win. I don't think they're just going to be able to rely on that running game.
Especially if you heard Jay Glazer report that Brandon Jacobs is inactive, or will be inactive for that game. He's got a bad knee. Plexico Burress comes in with a strained hamstring that he strained during the week. So they're a little shorthanded, so to speak, going into that matchup without their big bruising running back, Brandon Jacobs.
And I think people underestimate what he means. You know, I mean, when they bring in Derek Ward and Ahmad Bradshaw, who Ahmad Bradshaw doesn't get as many carries as what he probably should because there's only one ball. But I do think that Brandon Jacobs comes in, softens the defense. Derek Ward's been good, and he was good last year, you know, when he had his opportunities. I still believe they're going to run the ball well, but I think they're going to need a little bit more out of their passing game today.
2nd down and 5 and a false start. It's Leonard Davis. So another home false start for this Dallas offensive line. Well, for those of you in the home markets of our late games, in a moment you'll be leaving this game and we'll be switching you to the start of your game. And after the Cowboys got that onside kick hauled in by Skandrick, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Dallas will end this day 7-4. The game coming up against a struggling Seattle team on Thursday, Thanksgiving. Try to go to 8-4, have the layoff, and then dive into that tough stretch in their schedule.
Well, I think the one thing about it, Joe, is that for Dallas, as much as they struggled there in the middle of the year, they came out to start the season very hot. They struggled. But like the Giants from a year ago, they're going to be having to play pretty good football if they're going to get into the playoffs, which actually could bode very well for this team.
I want to remind you that today's game is being produced by Richie Zients, directed by Artie Kemner. The technical producer is Joe Stevens. Technical director is Colby Bourgeois. Audio mixer is Fred Aldis. Our thanks as always to Steve Horn, our editorial consultant in the booth. The associate directors are Greg Scopatoni, Judy Wong. Broadcast associates are Rich Gross and Bentley Elliott. The studio show produced by Scott Ackerson. Directed by Bob Levy. The highlights coordinator is Janice Kazaza. Studio technical supervisor Jack Simmons. Supervisor of remote field operations is Jerry Steinberg. The senior producer of Fox Sports, Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports, Ed Gorin and David Hill. 3rd down and 5 after San Francisco used their 2nd timeout. And they are left with just 1 with 3:36 remaining. You know, one thing the Super Bowl win did for Eli Manning, in my opinion, is allow him to relax a little bit and not try to prove himself every time he dropped back. And he's not taking a lot of sacks, not throwing a lot of interceptions. As you said, the big plays haven't been there, but because of the running game, they haven't needed him to this point. But at least he's not forcing things and making a lot of the mistakes that he made during even the regular season in 2007.
And he's not having to defend his play.
Here is a completion on a brilliant catch by Terrell Owens. A rolling catch to add a little cherry on top of what is a fantastic afternoon against the 49ers.
Well, yeah, and Dallas just deciding that, hey, we're going to try to pick up a 1st down and run this clock out and not make our defense go back out onto the field. So even with a huge lead, they throw it on 3rd down and pick up the 1st down.
Look at the numbers. 7 catches for 212 yards. I mean, that's making the most out of your opportunities.
Hey, I said it coming in. I mean, good things happen when you get the ball to Terrell Owens.
You did. Well, you are on record as saying that. I remember that. Just like it never happened. Here is Marion Barber. Picks up 1. Also an article in today's paper saying that the skills had diminished for Terrell Owens. That on the heels of Owens being critical, as you said earlier, basically of Jason Garrett and the offensive approach, and saying teams have caught up to our offensive scheme. And then the question, do you miss the West Coast offense? Yes, I miss a lot of things, the flexibility of it. But, you know, here he is in the Cowboys' 7th win of the year, having his best day as a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, and let me assure you of one thing. Nothing changed today in this system. It's the same stuff they've been doing all year long. He got by some people, got open, and he caught the football.
Marion Barber knows to go down to keep the clock running. We are at 1:58. 2-minute warning here in Dallas. Cowboys on their way to their 7th win. There are the total yards. Dallas with 406, and you can see how much San Francisco moved the ball. 304 yards, but failures inside the red zone early really cost him. And with 1:58 remaining, 3rd down and 3. Marion Barber's still in the ballgame. And still carrying the football. And now 1st down. I would have Marion Barber so far off the playing field right now. I'd send him back to the dressing room. Just go take your stuff off, and we'll see on Thursday when Seattle comes to town. It's just not worth him being in the game right now. You could say the same for Witten and Terrell Owens and Tony Romo. I mean, if you're not comfortable now.
Well, I agree with you, and I agree that you can't lose Marion Barber, as we said. Felix Jones already out, but on top of that, another way to look at it is what a golden opportunity for Tashard Choice to get some carries, and get used to getting hit and securing the football when people are trying to take it out of your hands. And I've got to believe. Dallas certainly hopes it's not the case, but I've got to believe that sometime between now and when Dallas' season ends, Tashard Choice is probably going to have an important role within this offense. And I'm just saying that if Barber gets dinged up, he's got to go off the field for a little bit. You get him in there. I think the more reps you can get that young man, the better off you'd be.
San Francisco, on top of all that, is out of timeouts. So now it's kneel down time after the 1st down. And now they can all relax, but leading up to it, it was a lot of Barber, some throws in the direction of Terrell Owens, and Mike Singletary thinking that maybe his team was going to be able to build on what was a blowout win at home over St. Louis. They come in here on the road. There was a lot good, but they'll walk away, and the only thing Singletary will talk about is the fact that they didn't win.
Yeah, and that's because he's a great competitor, and that's all he should talk about. But I think behind closed doors, I think Mike Singletary will go to that staff, and I think this team got better today. And coming in, we knew it was going to be hard. They were going to have to play almost a perfect game, had chances early, and game is a lot different if they got those touchdowns there in the 1st quarter. But I think San Francisco has improved in the 4 games now that Mike Singletary's been the head coach.
And really, that's the big question. I mean, if that's what San Francisco's looking for, are we getting better? Is the attitude changing? Is the culture changing inside our dressing room and with this organization? Shaun Hill struggled in the middle part of this game, there's no doubt. Good early, I think very good late. Talking to his offensive lineman, he let Heitman spike a ball for him last week. He seems to have a good idea as to how to play this game, and he's learning as well. I would agree with you. This San Francisco team has improved under Mike Singletary, period. And this will be it. Last snap of the day. Romo 341 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, no picks as it turns out. Terrell Owens a 213-yard day receiving the football with a touchdown. Full kit 4 field goals. On the other side, Shaun Hill threw for 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and Isaac Bruce a 125-yard day. That's it from Dallas until Thursday on Thanksgiving. Enjoy the rest of the football day. Big doubleheader day today on Fox. For Troy and Pam, I'm Joe. So long from Texas Stadium.